We didn't come from money at all. We lived a very impoverished life. We had been homeless several times. I was married before, and I got divorced. And once I got divorced, it was just like I let loose, and I was just a party animal. He was abusive, and yeah, I wasn't allowed to have friends or go to work.
3 months, that's crazy. I literally was only here for 3 months, and God said, hey, y'all, this was already destined for a 25 plus journey with grandkids. And it only took 3 months now to think about it.
For us, it got real ugly. Yeah. There were a lot of nights where we stayed up late, holes in walls, and a lot of words said, hurtful words.
You stopped caring. You started shutting down, and I felt that. That was a scary place. Like, what happened? I was a very passionately angry person.
In the beginning, it was rough, man. We had to have our own office separate from everybody because we would actually sit and argue. No matter what I said, no matter what communication style I tried, it was a fight to be heard.
I don't know if I'm ready for this reading the first question. All right, let's try this out. All right, what's one thing Richie still doesn't understand about being married to a woman with vision?
You know, honey, like I said, in the past 6 months, there's been a drastic change, and I feel like you listen to me more than you ever. Now, I don't want to say listen, but let me speak, and just hold that space for me. So I can't really complain.
What about before the 6 months?
Wow.
Yeah, let's do it.
Unpack it. That was a battle, man. It felt like it was always, because no matter what I said, no matter what communication style I tried, it was a fight to be heard, because it was almost like it was your way or the highway kind of deal. Like, it was always a fight. And so I think it got to the point where I was just kind of giving up. Like, it's just fine. Just like kind of lift up my white flag and just be like, it's whatever already.
I remember feeling that.
Yeah.
It was the worst feeling. Like, you kind of get so caught in your own vision and pushing what you think God's putting out there. And here you are trying to share your voice. And I felt like my voice did an override on your voice. And then when it really puts you at a place where you stop caring, you start shutting down. And I felt that was a scary place. Like, what happened? Like, it just happened, but it wasn't. It was a long time of just not listening.
Yeah. I don't like to fight. I do not like to fight. I will, but I don't like to do it. I'd rather just keep peace. And that was my way of just keeping peace. For myself, for you, for our house, for the business, for everything. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thankfully, that wasn't the end, or anything like that. It just brings me to a place where I learned how valuable, number one, you are, but your voices, your input, and just being able to learn how to unlock those. I think I just didn't know how to unlock it at the time, right? It was like, for me, I felt like you had reactionary vision. And I'm not saying that's what it was. I'm saying that's how I seen it.
Felt, yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm thinking, man, you don't understand these 12 things. Remember, I used to always say that. Like, you don't understand everything going on, why we're making this decision. And you hear this, but you're reacting, but not, can I share with you the 12 pillars of why this decision? And you're like, but what I didn't realize was your vantage point as a wife, as somebody always like you weren't reacting. You were basically speaking from the Holy Spirit, and a lot, probably 90-something% of those suggestions or advice or the visions you poured out, I should have listened, right? And I had to learn the hard way on some of those.
But my perspective is that, we learned so much.
We did.
Through all of those mistakes or whatever it is, and we're not going to look back on those. I'm not going to go back to making those same mistakes. So that's good.
Yeah. God is good.
He is all the time.
All right, we're going into the next one. What's something no one told you about being a wife and a business owner?
Ooh. And working with your husband. That everything, wasn't always going to be, smiles and laughing. I mean, you hear, I guess people did kind of say it, but I think in our situation and the dynamic of our relationship, it's pretty, I'm an introvert, you're an extrovert, or you say that you're an ambivert. But we're also both lions. And that in a marriage and in business can be very, very challenging. Mm-hmm. And I'm also stubborn. And I'd say we both are very stubborn. So the amount of time that we've spent bickering, arguing, and as I'm getting older, I'm learning that people always just want to be heard, right? So we're constantly trying to be heard. The both of us are just, and that can get ugly sometimes. And for us, it got real ugly. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, there were a lot of nights where we stayed up late, a lot of, holes in walls, and mm-hmm. a lot of words said, hurtful words to each other. And that's just really, I think that was the biggest struggle and the hardest thing. And trying to mother and take care of our household and still be in the business and try to help run the business. Nobody told me about that. I don't think anybody could prepare me for that.
This isn't a new question, but just inside the space, what were your feelings when we started the business? Because I know we had some prayer, some fasting, and God we felt like he gave us that confirmation, but what was like your true feelings at that time?
Well, I was afraid, I was afraid in the sense of just not knowing where we were going, because it was all new to us.
2011, we were in prayer. I was laid off, getting unemployment. We had 4 kids. We had food stamps. It was, we had the story of, was that the year that the check went missing for the rent and your car got towed? And I felt like
it was just like one thing after another. It was like a flat tire, another flat tire, and my tires weren't cheap. They were like $300 a tire.
Yeah, we mailed our rent check, which was $900 or $1,000 at the time.
It was $1,200.
$1,200, and this is Helelua, Nanakuli.
The ghetto, H block, the Lou.
We were in the hood, like seriously the hood. I mean, we had nights where the neighborhood would get into the largest brawls and fights. Police would come. We would just poke out the window, and
it was like riots, honey.
Riots, man. It was not safe.
Helicopter with a spotlight.
It was really bad.
Everybody's running after the tow truck with their bats and stuff. That was wild.
It was so bad. And so here we were. I was laid off. The market, construction industry, the company I was with was just super, super, super slow. I'm trying to do side jobs. We sent our rent check, which was, we literally were barely had enough to even to do that. And we got a call that we didn't pay it. And we're like, no, we sent it. I had the little money order receipt and I sent it. Like, well, we don't have it. You got to just send something else. And I'm like, man, it ain't like that. That's like all we don't have
money just stashed under the bed,
Yeah, this is like all we got. It's not going to work like that. And so, I just remember, and then your car got towed. We couldn't get it out because we didn't have the money, and
it was like
just
$400. Yeah,
it was so stressful. And then I forget what happened, but I remember I had like $100 to my name, and I was at church, and this was a small church, your grandpa's church at the time, and I remember this big like message on giving, and then the baskets went around. I'm like, I was moved. I'm gonna give, so I gave, and then I didn't realize I gave him 100. I was like, whoa, I didn't mean to do that. And then so the sister Trinda came back to me and was like, Richie, I think you accidentally gave the wrong amount, because it's such a small church. No one drops hundreds, right? And so, and I remember that moment. It wasn't about the whole, like, it was a moment where God said, do you trust me?
Good.
I remember that, feeling it. Like, yeah, you can have your 100 back, but it's not about like the actual act of giving, but it's the act of, can you have faith in me right now? And just give up what you feel like is all you have left. And that was the world to me. And I said, I thought I was like Christian gangster. I was like, yeah, I'll give it up. Like, and I believe God honored that faith, really, and just started turning things around for us. But that was the season we were in, starting a company. So talk about not having anything to start a company. Like the fear.
That was really scary. I mean, just stepping into something totally new, really seeking God for the faith to be able to stand, not just like stand in the faith, but like stand strong, like not with like wobbly knees and ankles, like really stand strong. Because I left my job. I stopped doing the things that, I was usually doing to make money, my own career. I left that to join forces with you. And it took a lot.
Actually, you didn't join forces with me the first year. It was year 4. Because you were still at the 2012?
2012.
Yeah, because when you joined forces with me, like seriously let everything go and join with me, we went from, I think, first year, 35,000 revenue.
Yeah, that's right. I was helping you do payroll and the guys, like all the HR stuff. Yeah.
And then the second year, I think we made 70,000 revenue. That's not even 70. Yeah, 70. Not that much. Because that's the revenue. That wasn't even like what
we're. That was a lot to us, man.
But that wasn't like even our money. That was just how much
came in.
Projects came in. So then year 3, I think we hit about 150K. And that's when it was, we're getting 150K projects. I think I was only pulling in 35,000 for the year from that. And it just wasn't making sense, and we kept the company, and then we joined forces with your sister and brother-in-law's company for a year and partner with them. But then I felt God saying, no, I all things
calling
new.
You guys somewhere else.
So, but when you did join, like seriously gave everything up, kind of like I gave up that $100 bill, first year we did over $500,000 revenue. What is your secret weapon for not letting little things become big fights?
Nowadays?
Sure.
Because back then there was no secrets. It was let it all out. Yeah, I just choose my battles.
That's good. What does that mean to you?
That means that if I feel like it's starting to get heated, I really, in my head, while we're talking and discussing, I evaluate, examine the whole situation. And I have to come to a point where I have to decide if it's worth fighting over or not. And a lot of things are not worth fighting over. So I choose my battles. Yeah.
What's sad for me to look back and think back on, like just to put my dirty laundry out there, like when she mentioned punching holes in the wall, I was a very passionately angry person who would never hit anybody or hurt anybody in the physical sense, but I used to break things. And punch things and take my aggression out on walls or computers or cabinets. I would have these like Hulk moments.
Yeah, we call it Hulk smash in our house.
And I would go from 0 to 100 in like
real quick, like just like boiling water, just boom. And then and what's sad is like looking back and your history with the abuse of actually being abused, physical abuse, and just taking you through that visual abuse and verbal abuse of emotional. Is that the right word? Just emotional abuse, and
you know, not being able to be mature enough to understand what you were going through, even though you had some moments of, you know, going through what you went through and not being sensitive to like those traumas or whatever that you're going through. It just takes years to kind of see and grow and understand those things. So I know I've said this to you 100 times, but publicly, sincerely, like, don't wish I could change anything, because I know God allowed it and it helped us grow. But I love you and I'm sorry, and please forgive me.
Oh, thank you, honey. But again, it's helped me, like iron sharpens iron, and it might not seem like it, but I've grown a lot of patience and just matured in a lot of ways.
If you were to like put a guesstimate number on how many times we threw the D word at each other, or that's divorce, or like how many times do you think we've thrown that out?
I don't think we've thrown it out a lot.
Just guesstimate.
To be honest.
Yeah, but
maybe, I mean, through the whole course of our marriage, maybe like 20 times, I think. Yeah.
And they were valid, not to just hurt each other, or
well,
we were
I know for myself,
Yeah.
because I don't like to say things unless I feel like I really mean it. Yeah.
But what I love is where we've grown to a place where we don't throw that word out anymore.
No.
Like, you know, when you're younger,
that's boo-boo.
Yeah, we don't. That's a no.
Yeah.
We don't, because we've come to a place to understand you're my end game, right? I mean, God's ultimately our end game, but our partnership, like, we've come to a place to accept and love, like, and really appreciate the depths of who we are together and understanding how that works. And there's some bad nights, but we've taken that practical steps of learning how to navigate each other's emotions, listen, and allow each other this space to kind of get over things, right? And I've just, you know, that D word doesn't get thrown around anymore.
No.